Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball series, Can We Save Your 2029 AL West Division winning Oakland A's? And finally here in our sixth season at the helm of Oakland, we've had some success. 94-68 record this year. Ran away with the AL West by 13 games over the Texas Rangers, one of the best teams in baseball. The goal was just to play 500 ball this year, so we did crush that goal. Unfortunately, I still have some concerns about the fan interest metric in the game. We were 38 at the start of last offseason. We improved it to 43 by the beginning of this season, and it's actually regressed a point this year, despite the fact that we improved by over 20 games in the standings, and our attendance was significantly better than a year ago. I think over 5,000 or 6,000 a game more than it was in 2028. So given how important that metric is to ultimately generating resources, still questionable how much long-term success we're going to have with this Oakland A's team. And I certainly think, again, that a 94-win team with fans finally, at long last, pouring into the Oakland Coliseum, fan interest probably should have gone up over the course of the year, but it is what it is. If you're looking closely, you can tell that we will be facing the Kansas City Royals in the American League Division Series. Kevin McDowell brought up the fact that it will be interesting to do this because Joe Edwards, who we had the opportunity to pick in the draft 3 years ago, is one of the top players on the Royals, so he may come back to haunt us in this series. Before we get the series underway, though, I want to check in on something even more interesting than the A's and how I'm doing to some viewers, and that is what Hidero Endo ended up doing this past season. And we checked in last on Blank's Endo, I believe on September 1st in the previous episode, right when we were coming out of September roster expansion. And you may see here that Endo finished the year with 41 homers and 108 ribbies. And you may be saying to yourself, that's impossible. And I kind of said the same thing when I saw that total. But after a bad June, a poor July, and an absolutely brutal August where he hit a .143 with just 2 homers and 5 ribbies, and struck out in almost 60% of his at-bats. Mr. Endo had a fantastic month of September for the Tigers. 6 doubles, 14 homers, 33 runs driven in, a .272 average, and put up a 1.5 WAR in the month of September for Detroit, which was 60% of his WAR for the entire season. So he rallied to finish strong. Granted, it was with a 68-win Tigers team that was the worst team in the entire American League. But he did end up putting up a 103 WRC plus this year, so a bit better than he did in his rookie year with us, a bit above average offensively. He still did, however, have an insanely horrible 285 strikeouts this year, crushing the sickly 252 strikeouts that he had a year ago. But as I noted, it all added up to a 2.4. Certainly not the WAR of over 6 that Colt Keith gave us this year. Keith, of course, was the main player that we got back from the Tigers, or actually the only player we got back from the Tigers in the trade where Endo was one of the primary assets that we sent to them. And Keith put up that 6 WAR for us, despite missing more than a month of the season with 2 stints on the IL. Had plantar fasciitis in the spring, and then he suffered a back injury over the summer as he fought off a mugger. So I am still happy with the trade of Endo, still happy that we ended up acquiring Endo a couple years ago with a very reasonable contract, because that came the resource that we use to help attract Keith to the Oakland A's. And all Keith did this year is the things that we've talked about. Had a 6+ WAR, helped a positive 21 delta in the wins that we had this year, and he has led these Oakland Athletics into the playoffs here in 2029. And taking a look at the playoffs, and one thing that longtime viewers of us sometimes like to mention in the comments is that they can tell whether or not we were successful in the playoffs by the length of the episode. So just want to let you know up front that if we are bounced in 3 games, I'll be adding some content to this episode, reviewing some of our players and how the season went to make it a little bit longer. So hopefully it's not entirely apparent to you right now whether or not we are successful in this upcoming series with the Royals, who took out our division rival Rangers. The Red Sox will be hosting the White Sox. The Cubs will be hosting the Rockies. And the Dodgers and the Braves in a battle of the Titans in the final division series here in 2029. Taking a look at our roster and our pitching staff for the playoffs, going to a 4-man rotation and cutting down the number of pitchers to 12. So Brian Wu ended up being the odd man out, moved Kyle Bradish out of the rotation into a long relief role. He was 12-13 with a 5.08 ERA this year, so the only starter on the team with a losing record and the only starter on the team with a ERA over 4.41 season after Bradish led the AL with a 2.66 ERA. But our rotation will be Jackson Ferris, 12-6, 3.84 ERA this year. Mason Miller led the team in wins, 14-8 with a 3.17 ERA. Nick Lodolo, 10-9, 4.41. He had that monster month of June, I believe it was, when he was the AL Pitcher of the Month and was pretty pedestrian otherwise. And then Bubba Chandler, 13-6 with a team best 3.02 ERA, will be in our rotation, hopefully for multiple series. Lineup-wise, moving to only 12 pitchers did allow us to keep Eddie Leonard, who we traded for before the trade deadline, on the playoff roster. Otherwise, it's kind of the group that we've been running with pretty much most of the season. Hideki Arakawa, we called him up to become our shortstop when Cameron Cawley went down with an injury early in the year. Other than that, it is all very familiar names, and you can see Colt Keith is hot right now. Hopefully that will help in the playoffs. Back to Eddie Leonard, he did not do much in a very small sample size with us, but we are still going to have him in the lineup against left-handed pitching, hoping that he may catch fire in these playoffs as well. And it's going to be a very interesting series here. You may remember from the past episode that we were battling with Kansas City up until the final couple days of the season as to which team would end up with a first-round bye. Fortunately for us, we got it. We were a game better than Kansas City this year. We did dominate them in the regular season, winning both series, took 5 out of 6 games overall. On paper, we're slightly better. We were second in the league in runs scored, while they were 5th. We were first in the American League in runs against, while they were 3rd. But 2 very good teams here. We are going to have Ferris on the mound. Talked about him, 12-6 record, 3.84 ERA, 198 strikeouts. Traded for him last offseason, and he has become our ace. Going up against a wily veteran, Corbin Burns. All he did this year was lead the American League with 17 wins, 17-12 record, 3.40 ERA. He will be turning 35 in about 2 weeks. Our hope is that he will no longer be playing baseball this year by the time he has his birthday. So we hope it's going to be a long run for these Oakland A's in the playoffs. Don't know how often we are going to be here. Granted, we had an excellent year this year, but unless our budget gets a nice boost, we're still likely to have the lowest budget and the lowest payroll in baseball next year, which is certainly going to make building a sustainable winner a challenge. But I think that's the whole point of trying to play this game under these less than ideal circumstances in terms of ownership, in terms of the budget, and in terms of fan interest and engagement. And we'll see if we can make any of those things better over time. And certainly a long run through the playoffs to generate more revenue will likely make the penny-pinching Mr. Fisher happy. And hopefully he'll ultimately allow a few more of those pennies to get into our budget. Game number 1 in Oakland, Corbin Burnes and Jackson Ferris on the mound, and we get a 5-4 victory. Looks like it went into the bullpen. Ben Leeper with the win in relief. Mason Black, who's been our stopper all year, with a save. Home run for Kansas City from Garrett Mitchell. Taking a look at the box score, Royals jumped up 1-0. Charlie Condon with a 2-run single in the 4th to give us the lead. Royals struck back with 3 in the 6th, a run-scoring triple from Bobby Witt Jr., the big blow. But a run in the bottom of the 6th for us to close the gap, and then in the 7th, Muncy drew a walk, and then a 2-run double by Chase DeLauder was the big blow. So a 5-4 victory for our Oakland A's. Condon with a couple of hits and 2 ribbies. DeLauder also had the 2-run hit. And Lawrence Butler with the final run batted in for our team. Ferris, not great, not horrible. 4 earned runs over 6 1/3 innings. As we talked about, Leeper got the win in relief. And Mason Black with a 2-inning save. Leeper and Black combined to allow just 1 runner on base over the final 2 2/3 innings. So good start for us. 39,323 in attendance. I think that means they must have expanded the stand somehow, because I believe that's well over our capacity. Yeah, our capacity is 35,067. We've been running with a $24 ticket price all season long. We upped it a little bit to the playoffs for $25. You can see we have been selling out some games recently, but apparently we allowed several thousand people in, standing room only. Hope we still got the full $25 for those tickets as well. And some of you probably noticed this in the box score to the last game, but they did push Corbin Burnes back, which actually didn't shock me, because Burnes had pitched in the playoff series that Kansas City had to play, the 3-game wild card series, to get here. So when I saw that a guy who had pitched in the previous series was going in game 1, was a little surprised by that, but I hadn't looked too closely. But you can see Burnesy now back on normal rest, and he will be going up against Mason Miller. Miller, the fragile genius, had probably the best year he's had as a starter for us. 14-8, 3.17 ERA. Just missed qualifying for the ERA title by a simple 1/3 of an inning. But he is a guy who we've spent a lot of time in the lab with over the seasons that we've been here in Oakland. Ultimately improved his stamina. Still fragile as far as his injury proneness, but a 3.3 WAR on the season. A nice solid year for Mason Miller. And we would love to take a 2-0 series lead to Kansas City. And we will be taking a 2-0 series lead to Kansas City. Miller with the win, Burnes with the loss, Black with his second save of the series, a 2-0 victory to give us a 2-0 series lead. Got a run in the first, a run-scoring double by Colt Keith. Added another run in the 4th. Looks like we probably scored that on an error or something, as I don't see a run batted in. Mason Miller, 1 hit, 1 walk and 8 strikeouts over 6 innings. And then Leaper and Black combine again for 3 innings of really good relief, allowed 2 hits while striking out 5. Another large crowd in the Oakland Coliseum. Burns was fine, 5 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned runs over 5 innings. But things are going very well here in the first playoff action for the vast majority of players on this Oakland roster. And we've made the flight halfway across the country to Kansas City in the Midwest, and the Red Sox and the White Sox are knotted up 1 game apiece in their best-of-5 series. So certainly would love to take this game today and have a little bit of time to rest before facing off against one of the Sox. Nick Lodolo on the mound for us today. Talked about him earlier, 10-9 with a 4.41 ERA. Put up a 3 WAR for us. His Sierras over the last 3 years have been incredibly consistent at 315, 313, and 314. Can't ask for more than that, but a lot of volatility in some of the other numbers. But he cut his whip to 1.16 this year, which certainly helped with us. Going up against Ben Kudma, or Kudra, or Kudner. I'm sure some of you are familiar with him because he's probably in his early 20s. I'm guessing he might still be in the Royals organization. Ben Kudrana. I'm going to stop. Tied for the American League lead with 17 wins with his teammate. 17-14, 4.57 ERA, 3.6 WAR, so another nice pitching matchup here. Thus far, we've got the best of the pitching matchups. Can we sweep the series? And we can. The Oakland A's take out the Kansas City Royals 10-9, and this plucky bunch of underdogs who won just 73 games a year ago and are still operating with the smallest payroll in baseball are on their way to the American League Championship Series. Hideki Arakawa, a couple of dingers today. Luis Angel Acuna and Joe Edwards with homers for Kansas City. The win goes to Patrick Sandoval out of the bullpen, and Chase Lee, who was our closer for the entire season, ended up getting a save, although Black got the saves in the first couple of games. Arakawa, off of the 2 home run performance, is your American League Division Series MVP in his rookie year in Major League Baseball. Taking a look at the box score, teams traded crooked numbers, 4 runs each in the third. Kansas City had on us an 8-5 lead heading into the 6th, and then we erupted with 4 runs in the 6th, an insurance run in the 8th, which we needed, and ended up with a 10-9 victory. Looking through our lineup, Butler with 3 ribbies and Arakawa with 3 ribbies, a 4-for-4 day, including the 2 homers for Arakawa. He scored 4 runs, so although there wasn't a ton of offense from him or anyone else on our team in the first 2 games of the series, not shocking to see him get the MVP award with that type of performance, although certainly probably could have made a case for Black if he had pitched better in relief. Lodolo got rocked. 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 earned runs over 2 2/3 innings. Black also not great in relief, but Sandoval and Sheehan kind of settled things down a bit. Scott gave up a run, and then Leaper and Chase Lee walked 3 batters over the final 2 innings, but didn't allow any hits, and they closed things out. Arakawa ties the Oakland playoff game record for runs with 4. I'm just completely speculating here, but I would tend to think that that's probably a tie with Ricky Henderson. I think he had that incredible playoff series with Oakland, I believe in '89, where he was putting up some crazy numbers and stealing some crazy amounts of bases. So I'd have to guess that Henderson, among others, might have had 4 runs in a game in the playoffs for the Oakland A's. And we'll get a chance for Arakawa and everybody else to try to break that record in the American League Championship Series. Just a matter of finding out who we're going to be playing. And the ALCS, or the ALDS, broke the way that we would have hoped it would, I guess. The Chicago White Sox took out the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox, with 97 wins, were the best team in all of baseball this year. So that should be a little boost for us. But the White Sox have been a juggernaut through the playoffs, swept the Rays 2-0 in the wild card series, and then took out the Red Sox 3-1 in 4 games. Besides the White Sox upsetting the Red Sox, it's all chalk, with the Cubs and Dodgers both winning in 4 games in their series. So the 2 top teams in the National League will face off. And, of course, we swept Kansas City in the ALDS. Taking a look at this series, another fairly even series. The White Sox were a 91-win team. We were a 94-win team. And unfortunately, although we talked about the fact that we were 5-1 against Kansas City during the regular season, and that carried over with the sweep in the playoffs, if the regular season is any indication, this may be a much more difficult series for us, as the White Sox took 5 out of 7 games against us this year. Again, very closely matched. We were second in the league in runs scored. They were third, only 12 behind us over the course of the season. And we had the best pitching staff in the American League. The White Sox also very good, ranking 4th. So going to be another tough series for us, I would anticipate. But we've got these Oakland A's into an ALCS, and we've got at least another 2 home games guaranteed to add some more money into Mr. Fisher's pocket and maybe help expand the budget for next year. And if we keep winning, hopefully maybe the fans will actually become more interested in us. And in game number 1 back in Oakland, Jackson Ferris back on the mound for us to start off a series again. Hayo Iriarte. Excellent stuff. Right-hander out of Venezuela on the mound for the White Sox. He was only 6-9 this year, 4.42 ERA. Did have over 200 strikeouts. Did put up an 84 FIP minus and have a 3.6 WAR. Ground ball tendencies, so a pretty solid pitcher there as expected. Some more tough pitching matchups here in the postseason as the ALCS gets underway in Oakland. And the Oakland A's continue rolling, a 6-2 victory. Ferris gets the W. Iriarte takes the L. 2 home runs from Tyler Soderstrom, your American League batting champion. Home run for the White Sox for Braden Taylor. Taking a look at the box score, they scored a run in the first on the home run by Taylor. We tied it up in the 4th, and then 2 runs in the 5th on a 2-run homer by Soderstrom. 3 runs in the 7th on a 3-run homer by Soderstrom. So he proved he could hit for a high average this year, and proved that he's also pretty good at driving in runs and hitting home runs here to get the ALCS underway. 2 for 5, 5 ribbies for Soderstrom. He was the offense. The only other ribby was Byron Cone, and our Oakland A's are 6-2 winners. Ferris, a really nice outing. 2 hits, a walk, 5 strikeouts over 6 innings. Leaper did allow 3 hits over 2 1/3 innings, but only 1 run, struck out 4. And then Emmett Sheehan, 2/3 of a perfect inning on just 3 pitches to finish things off for us. Another huge crowd in Oakland. Maybe we should raise the ticket prices a bit if we get to the World Series. We could do it now, but since I haven't done it, I'm not going to change it in the middle of the series. So moving ahead to game number 2 of this series, if my computer will actually let me finish today. Wondering what is going on there, but fortunately no crashes yet, which we certainly don't want with a 1-0 lead here in the ALCS. Mason Miller on the mound for us. Dylan Cease on the mound for the White Sox. Really good stuff. 13-9 with a 4.47 ERA this year. Struck out 227 batters. Does have extreme fly ball tendencies. Does tend to walk a lot of batters. We'll see if maybe we can hit a few home runs and draw a few walks off of Mr. Cease today, hopefully on the way to a series lead. Not to be the case, though. Pitchers duel once again. Mason Miller, you'll remember, won a 2-0 game in Game 2 against Kansas City to give us a 2-0 lead. Loses a 2-1 game today. Couple of homers, Crawford and Taylor, once again for the White Sox, accounted for all of their runs. We got our 1 run in the third. Arakawa, a run-scoring double, but not a ton of offense. Just 5 hits for us and only 4 hits for Chicago. The problem for us was that 2 of them left the park. Miller, 3 hits, 4 walks, 2 runs, both earned over 4 2/3 innings. Sandoval and Black combined to allow just 1 hit over the last 4 1/3 innings, but could not get much offense going. And unfortunately, that means that we will be headed to Chicago, locked up 1-1. International amateur free agents have been revealed. I'll take a look at them one way or another after this series ends, and hopefully we'll have another series ahead of us after it, but at the very least it'll give me something interesting to look at while we're licking our wounds. Game 3, Nick Lodolo on the mound for us. Had that brutal outing, has a 16.88 ERA in the playoffs, even though we did win Game 3 to sweep Kansas City thanks to the big comeback. Robbie Snelling on the mound for the White Sox, a solid major league pitcher. Split the year between San Diego and the White Sox, only 5-10 with San Diego, but 6-0 when he came over to the White Sox with a sub-3 ERA, 3.4 WAR on the season for Mr. Snelling. The left-hander on the mound, so I think that means we'll have some different people in the lineup. I'm pretty sure they were both righties the first 2 games, and we'll see if the guys who have been waiting to play in this series make the most of it against Chicago in what could be a pivotal game number 3. Unfortunately, the Chicago White Sox crushed us today 7-1. Mitch Keller takes the loss in relief. Taking a look at the box score, was a close game. White Sox had a 2-1 lead heading into the bottom of the 8th, and then they erupted for 5 runs on us. So that was certainly not positive. Got a couple hits from Buelvis and Ramirez, as well as Rincon and Lara, but the middle of the order did not do too much with our 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 hitters combining just for the 2 hits by Agustin Ramirez. Lodolo was fine, didn't go deep, but only 2 hits, 1 run not earned over 4 2/3 innings. The 5 walks put his pitch count up. Keller gave up just 1 run in a third of an inning, but he gets saddled with the loss. And then Black, who's been lights out in some games this postseason and completely awful in some games this postseason. And this one was completely awful. 5 hits, 2 walks, 5 earned runs over just an inning of work as the White Sox take that 2-1 series lead on us. And now we're in a situation where we've got to win at least one of these next 2 games if we want to be playing in Oakland again this season. Game number 4, finally get to see Bubba Chandler on the mound. He will be going against Cade Povich for the White Sox. 8-10, 4.91 ERA. He is a solid, respectable major league starter. Does not throw incredibly hard. Another left-hander. Chandler, 13-6, 3.02 ERA. Led the AL in BABIP and WHIP for us this year. Not making crazy money. The trade for him with Pittsburgh 2.5 years ago has ended up being a decent one for us. Not a brilliant trade, but young pitcher in his mid-20s making only $3 million who puts up a 3.2 WAR for us is certainly a valuable asset, and hopefully Chandler will come through today. Not to be the case, though, and after winning our first 4 games of this playoff run, we have lost 3 in a row, and if we lose another one, our season will be over. Povich the win, Tanner Scott the loss in relief. Did get a homer from Eddys Leonard, who plays against lefties, so I guess that was positive. We jumped out to a 4-0 lead, and Muncy was right in the middle of that, and then gave up a run in the 5th, 4 in the 6th, and 1 in the 7th to give it all back. Our win probability was pretty high as we were heading into the bottom of the 6th, and things fell apart then. Chandler relieved by Sheehan, and then Tanner Scott, and they did not put out the fire. Sheehan and Tanner Scott, over an inning and 2/3 of work, allowed 4 hits, 2 walks, and 4 earned runs. So they poured a little bit of gasoline on the fire, unfortunately. Offensively, just 6 hits for us, primarily Muncy, the only guy with 2 hits in the 3 ribbies. Already talked about the solo homer from Eddys Leonard. So we've got to win 3 in a row now to get to the World Series, and we need to win today just to ensure that we'll have at least one more game at home in Oakland this year. We do have our ace on the mound in Jackson Ferris. We've won game 1 of each series that he's pitched, going up against Jairo Iriarte once again. And we get a 9-8 win, got into the bullpen, but we did what we needed to do to get home. Sandoval with the win in relief, got a homer from Charlie Condon. Taylor with another 2 homers. He's up to 4 for the series. We jumped out very early with 5 runs in the first. They chipped away, and they eventually had a 6-5 lead as we headed into the top of the 9th. Top of the 9th, a run-scoring single from Colt Keith to tie things up. Traded 2 runs each in the 11th, and then finally in the 12th, the solo home run by Charlie Condon to give us the victory. So some pretty dramatic swings in the win probability of this one, but when all was done, Oakland got the W, and we are headed back home. Still have a lot of work to do. A lot more offense for us today. 12-inning game, and we had 20 hits. Everyone in the lineup had at least 1 hit, and 7 of our starters had multi-hit games. So bit surprising that perhaps we didn't generate more offense, but glad to see the bats getting started a bit. Ferris, a quality start, 3 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts over 6 innings. Ben Leeper with a very rough outing in relief. Keller also blew a save later on, but Sandoval came in and got the final 5 outs that we needed to get this victory. Iriarte, rough outing, didn't get out of the first inning, gave up 5 hits and 5 runs, 2 of them earned. So the error by Canarella or Kim likely was very costly. Lawrence Butler was our player of the game, 4 for 6 with 3 ribbies on the day for the right fielder. So we've got at least one more game to go this season. We'll head to Oakland, and before we play our game, we'll check in on the NL ALCS, and the Dodgers have taken out the Cubs. Mentioned in the previous episode that we ended up tied with the Dodgers for the third best record in baseball with 94 wins. Only the Red Sox and the Cubs were better than us and the Dodgers. The Dodgers with the number one budget and the number one payroll. Our Oakland A's with the number 30 budget and the number 30 payroll. So it would certainly be a bit of cosmic justice if those teams were to face off in the World Series, but we have got a lot of hard work to do before that can become a reality. Have to win 2 games in a row at home, 3 games in a row overall, as we dug ourselves that 3-1 deficit, and we're only a third of the way out of it. Dylan Cease, who's 2-0 in these playoffs, going up against Mason Miller, 1-1 with a 1.69 ERA. Miller has been very good in both of the games that he's pitched, and we're going to need an excellent performance from him today to get these Oakland A's into the 2029 World Series. And we did what we needed to do. Another 1-run victory, 5-4. Chase Lee with the win, got a homer from DeLauter. Jose Alvarado takes the loss for the White Sox. Take a look at the box score, and kind of reverse of some of the previous games. The White Sox jumped out to a 4-0 lead on us heading into the bottom of the 8th. Colt Keith with a run-scoring double helped get us 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th. And then 3 in the bottom of the 9th, a walk-off 3-run home run from Chase DeLauter to send the Oakland A's fans home happy. That is pretty much as big of a comeback as you're going to see. And you can see from the win probabilities, it was very bleak even heading into the 9th inning. And DeLauter with the 3-run walk-off to send this to a 7th game. Miller, his worst start of the playoffs, still was a quality start. 5 hits, no walks, 3 earned runs over 6 innings, struck out 6. Sandoval, who's been in the middle of a lot. Keller and Lee pitched in relief for us. And we've done what we needed to do to get to a Game 7. Who knows what's going to happen, but at least we've got another home game here against Chicago. Can we have the crazy World Series with the team with the highest payroll and the highest budget in baseball against the team with the lowest payroll and the lowest budget in baseball? That would be quite cool. And I'm not saying that only because it means that our Oakland A's will be in the World Series if it happens. Robbie Snelling, 2-0 with a 1.86 ERA. He's been excellent in these playoffs thus far. Nick Lodolo has not been, 0-0 with a 6.14 ERA. Game number 7 in Oakland. Can this Oakland A's team shock the White Sox and shock the world by making a run all the way to the World Series? And we can, after falling behind in this series 3-1. Oakland wins 3 consecutive 1-run games to make an unexpected trip to the World Series. Black with the win in relief. Iriarte with the loss in relief as Chicago just emptied out everything possible. Home runs from Buxton and Keith, first in the playoffs for both of them. Keith especially, maybe that will get him going for the World Series. Chase DeLauter, perhaps not shockingly, after the huge 3-run home run in Game 6 to propel the comeback, named the ALCS MVP. Taking a look at the box score, we jumped out to a 4-0 lead. Chicago came back to take a 5-4 lead into the 7th. We tied it in the 7th with a solo home run by Buxton, and then a second consecutive night with a walk-off by Chase DeLauter in the playoffs at home a run-scoring double in the bottom of the 10th for DeLauder. So no shock that he's a World Series MVP after those heroics. 345 average, 1 homer, 6 ribbies, but as we talked about, more importantly, walk-off hits in the final 2 games of the series for Mr. DeLauder, helping the A's to comebacks in both situations. Lodolo, not great. 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 earned runs. In fact, I think it's fair to say that that's not good, not great. It was bad. But other than that, the final 5 1/3 innings, since we went into extra innings, only allowed 4 hits, 1 earned run, and 1 walk. Mason Black, the closer, or the stopper more accurately, 3 innings pitched for us. He was tentatively penciled in to be a starter for us before we ended up making the trade for Lodolo, and we put Black into the stopper role where he was incredibly effective for us, tied for the team lead with 14 wins, 17 saves, 10 holds, a 3.68 ERA with 140 strikeouts over 137 innings. And he does have the capability to pitch long out of the bullpen, and he threw 43 pitches over those 3 innings where he allowed just 1 hit, 1 walk, while striking out 3. Robbie Snelling, unfortunately for the White Sox, was injured, although he was not particularly effective while he was on the mound, but certainly made things harder for them to have to go to the bullpen very early in this one. But our Oakland A's are headed to the World Series, and as I talked about, a crazy dichotomy here. 30th ranked budget in baseball for the A's, 30th ranked player payroll for the A's, and we did, as we talked about, go 94-68, and we will be going up against the mighty Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series, who, as I mentioned, also 94-68. But the largest budget and the largest player payroll in baseball, their player payroll is 6 times, more than 6 times what our payroll is in Oakland. So it's going to be a massive task for us to upend this Los Angeles Dodgers team in the World Series. But after the pain of these first 5 years of this playthrough, we're finally having some fun this year in the regular season, and we're having a ton of fun in the playoffs as our Oakland A's are headed to the World Series. Bet you didn't expect to hear that at the beginning of this year. I certainly didn't. And as we have talked about, we have a wide dichotomy in the financials of these 2 teams in the World Series. Our Oakland A's, if we were playing Monopoly, are Mediterranean Avenue and Baltic Avenue, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are certainly Boardwalk and Park Place. But on the field this year, both teams were 94-68. We actually took 2 out of 3 games against the Dodgers, the only time we faced them. We were second in the American League in runs scored. They were third in the National League in runs scored, only scored 13 fewer runs than we did. The 2 best pitching staffs in baseball, and the Dodgers allowed 15 fewer runs than we did this year. So if I'm doing my quick math correctly, that means there's only a difference of 2 runs allowed and scored between these 2 teams over the course of this season. So looks incredibly evenly matched on paper, certainly in terms of the overall talent level and the overall payroll. The Dodgers are playing in a different stratosphere than our Oakland A's, but we're 4 games away from potentially shocking the world. Bubba Chandler going to get the Game 1 start for us as we give a little extra time off to Ferris. Bobby Miller day-to-day with a strained hammy. I guess it doesn't impact his throwing. On the mound for the Dodgers, he was 12-12 with a 3.59 ERA this year. Because we took the season series from the Dodgers, those 2-1, we shockingly have home field advantage in this World Series. Just an incredible turn of events to have this team turn around the way it did this year, and to see ourselves facing off against the mighty Dodgers in the World Series. Can we get things off to a good start? We do. A 18-inning game and a 2-1 victory. So that is the 4th consecutive one-run win for the Oakland A's. The 3rd consecutive walk-off win for the Oakland A's. Absolutely nutty. Maybe we are a team of destiny. We scored a run in the 1st. The Dodgers scored a run in the 4th. And then nobody scored again until the 18th inning. And we don't even know how it happened right here. Actually, I think we do. Did it? No, we knew DeLauder. Did DeLauder walk us off again? That would be absolutely insane if the only hit that he had was a 4th consecutive walk-off. I've got to go through the details on this one. Ooh, Mason Black injured while pitching, and you can see we ended up using 9 of our 12 pitchers today. Granted, Los Angeles not much better off, having used 7 of their pitchers. Black was injured. Mookie Betts with 3 doubles. Wilyer Abreu 8 at-bats. Yordan Alvarez injured. Luis Lara ties or sets our extra inning game record with 8 at-bats. Chandler, really good. 3 hits, 2 walks, 1 earned run while striking out 4. Mixed and matched with the bullpen the rest of the way. Black... day-to-day with back stiffness, supposedly no impact on his throwing. Maybe we just sit him out tomorrow, then we'll have an off day in between games 2 and 3. Let's go to the game log and see exactly what happened in that. Well, in the bottom of the 1st, we'll know whether it was DeLauder or not. And DeLauder did have his solo home run in the bottom of the 1st, so he was not responsible for a walk-off for the 3rd consecutive game. Luis Lara scores on a wild pitch to Colt Keith. Colt Keith has not had a big playoffs for us, and we are still just 3 games away from an absolutely unexpected World Series title. Maybe I'm jinxing myself by talking about a World Series title at this point, but down 3-1 in the American League Championship Series. We've now won 4 consecutive one-run games, including 3 consecutive walk-offs at home. We'll see if we can keep this momentum going. We are going to give the day off to Mason Black. We'll deal with him again on the other side, but not going to pitch him today. Hopefully let him heal up and be fully ready to go for game number 3 in LA. Joe Ryan going to be on the mound for the Dodgers today, 12-8 with a 3.56 ERA for the 33-year-old veteran out of Stanislaus State University. Jackson Ferris, our ace, on the mound for us in Oakland. Can we somehow inexplicably be heading south with a 2-0 series lead over the mighty Dodgers. Yes, we can. Home runs from Butler, Keith, and Arakawa. Bradish with the win in relief. Ryan takes the loss, a 7-2 victory for the Oakland A's. Got 2 in the third, solo homer from Arakawa and a single from Soderstrom. Solo home run from Butler among 4 runs in the 6th inning. 7-2 victory. They did come up with 2 runs in the 8th to close the 7-0 gap. 14 hits for the Oakland A's. Ferris, oh, did he get hurt? Oh, God, you're killing me. Only 2 innings. Jackson Ferris injured while pitching. Pending arm injury, only went 21 pitches. We weren't going to need him again until Game 6, but unfortunately with him leaving the game early, taxed the bullpen very heavily once again. We went with 7 pitchers today after going with 9 pitchers yesterday. Los Angeles, on the other hand, although they lost, used only 2 pitchers. So we're 2 wins away from a World Series victory, which is completely unexpected with this team. And we had 5 consecutive losing years to start this off. I felt like this team was going to be better this year, but not this much better. Now, with a 2-0 lead, even with the injury to Mr. Ferris, it's going to be a huge disappointment if we can't get this across the finish line. And Jackson Ferris, in the grand scheme of things, not horrible, bicep tendonitis and only out for 2 weeks. But what that does mean is that he is out for the season. At least it's not a long-term injury that's going to impact him next year. But if we don't win 2 of the next 3 games in Los Angeles, it could have a pretty significant impact on our chance to win this World Series. All right, well, we've placed Ferris onto the playoff IL as he was not going to be able to go for us in Game 6. We have added Brian Wu onto the roster as a long reliever, and we moved Kyle Bradish into the 4th spot in our rotation. So Bradish will be going for us in Game 6 back in Oakland if the series goes that long. Mason Miller on the mound today, Game 3 in Los Angeles, going up against Shane McClanahan. Mentioned the dollars that the Dodgers have. McClanahan making $29 million this year. So McClanahan alone is almost half of the entire Oakland A's payroll. He was 9-6 with a 3.03 ERA this year. Obviously has had a very good major league career, 2-time All-Star and a World Series champion in 2027 with the Cardinals. So another tough pitching matchup for us, but we've handled them pretty well thus far. The Dodgers win a 1-run game at home, 3-2. Black back and healthy, but he takes the loss in relief. Couple of dingers from Ohtani. Colt Keith did get a home run for us for his 2nd consecutive game. Would be great if Mr. Keith is heating up. Tables were turned on us in this one. We had a 2-0 lead on the 2-run home run by Keith, and Ohtani with a solo homer in the 7th, and then a 2-run walk-off in the bottom of the 9th provides the margin of victory for the Dodgers. Just 5 hits for us today. DeLauder, the only one with a 2-hit game. Miller, 3 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts over 4 innings. Didn't allow any runs. The back end of the bullpen ended up costing us with Tanner Scott giving up a run and then Mason Black giving up the second home run to Mr. Ohtani, takes the loss, blows the save. McClanahan was injured while pitching for the Dodgers, pending back injury, so I guess that could be a potential issue for them in game number 7 if we go that long. Game number 4 now, Lodolo, who has not been great in these playoffs, going up against Ohtani, who at 0-1 with a 16.43 ERA has been awful on the mound in the playoffs. You can see he's still got the great power and a really good eye. Pitching-wise, still has well above average stuff, average movement, slightly above average control, and a strong 5-pitch arsenal. So he was 10-11 with a 4.74 ERA this year. Hope that his playoff woes continue here today in game number 4 in LA. And we get an 8-4 victory. So we've taken a 3-1 lead on the Los Angeles Dodgers. 2 home runs from DeLauder, 1 from Condon. Arakawa continues to be a powerful hitter in the playoffs. Spencer Torkelson and Mookie Betts with home runs for the Dodgers, but an 8-4 victory for our Oakland A's. Traded runs in the second. We added runs in the third and fourth, traded runs again in the fifth, and then we got single runs in the sixth and eighth. So we scored in 6 out of the 9 innings in this game. 4 hits and 3 ribbies from DeLauder. Also got ribbies from Soderstrom, Keith, Baldwin, Condon, and Arakawa. Lodolo, another sloppy performance. 7 hits, 3 walks, 4 earned runs over 4 innings. Ended up using 5 relievers. Mason Black with the save. Emmett Sheehan with the win. We are taxing our bullpen incredibly, but so are they. Slade, Ciccone, and Evan Phillips both injured while pitching for them. So these pitching staffs are going through a lot in this series. And the question is whether this series ends today or do we go back to Oakland. As fun as it would be to win on our home field in the Oakland Coliseum, which would seem like a fitting celebration given the title of this series, Can We Save the Oakland A's? I'd rather just get it done today, especially given that, as we've talked about, it won't be Ferris on the mound for us in Game 6, but rather Kyle Bradish. Bubba Chandler on the mound. He doesn't have a decision in the playoffs yet, going up against Bobby Miller, 2-0 with a 1.59 ERA, suffering that strained hammy, but supposedly it's not going to have an impact on his throwing. Our Oakland A's are up 3-1 on the mighty Dodgers. Can we clinch a completely unprecedented World Series title this evening here in Southern California? And we cannot. We're going back to Oakland. We will have the series lead, but as I talked about, the pitching matchup in Game 6 is not what we would have hoped. A 4-2 loss. We got solo homers from Lawrence Butler and Tyler Soderstrom. Black, always in the middle of things, takes the loss in relief. Things were tied up heading into the 6th, and then the Dodgers 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th. Willie Adames, a 2-run double. My God, the Dodgers have like everyone on this team. Torkelson, Adames, among the names that you would expect to see on the team. Harris, Betts, Ohtani, Outman. They've added Yordan Alvarez. They are loaded. Really nice performance from Bobby Miller. 4 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts over 7 innings. Chandler, who still doesn't have a decision, has pitched very well in these playoffs. 2 hits, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, 2 runs, but none earned over 5 innings. Black, after a really good regular season as our stopper, has put up a 6.23 ERA in these playoffs. Shohei Ohtani injured while running the bases, strained foot, moderate impact on running. Probably not the end of the world, but certainly one small factor in our favor. And we will be moving to the month of November in Oakland for game number 6. Those of you who are wondering, I did do my international amateur free agent training camp between, I believe, the DS and the CS, or maybe it was between the CS and the World Series. But I did do that if you're worried about it. So we'll talk about those guys in the future. But right now we are thinking about nothing but the present. Still need to get one more win against these Dodgers, and it is by no means assured. Joe Ryan, 12-8, 3.56 ERA on the mound for the Dodgers. And as I talked about with the injury to Ferris, Kyle Bradish will be making his first start of the postseason for us. 12-13 this year with that 5.08 ERA. He did have that brilliant year for us last season when he led the league in ERA, BABIP, and WHIP. Can he harness some of that 2028 energy here today and help pitch the Oakland A's to an unexpected title? And he can. The Oakland Athletics here in 2029, the 6th year of this playthrough, a winning record for the first time, a playoff appearance for the first time, a division title for the first time, and a shocking World Series championship here in 2029 for our Oakland A's. We've not just earned the champion achievement, but we have, as you would expect, unlocked the Moneyball achievement here by winning the 2029 World Series 4-2 over the Dodgers. Bradish with the W, filling in for the injured Jackson Ferris. Black, some redemption with a save. Soderstrom and Colt Keith, the 2 guys who had career years offensively for us, both hit home runs at home to help propel us to the victory. Chase DeLauder, not unexpectedly the World Series MVP. Taking a look at the box score, 2 in the 3rd, run scoring double from DeLauder, 2 in the 5th. They came back with 3 in the 6th to close the gap to 4-3. Ohtani and Torkelson involved with the ribbies there. And then Brian Rincon, guy that we haven't talked about much in these playoffs, with a 2-run single in the bottom of the 8th to provide the final margin of the 6-3 victory for these Oakland A's. DeLauder, 379 average, 3 homers, and 6 ribbies. He is your MVP for a second consecutive series. Had the 2 walk-offs in games 6 and 7 of the ALCS as we overcome the 3-1 deficit to the White Sox, and then the big series here in the World Series as well. DeLauder, of course, we picked up in a trade with Cleveland just about a year ago. Thought that he would give us a good, solid professional bat, and he certainly did that this year. 281 average, 41 doubles, 10 homers, 117 WRC plus, and most importantly, 2 postseason MVP awards. And he has now earned the 3rd World Series championship of his young career. So absolutely shocking result. Bradish, 5 hits, 4 walks, 3 earned runs over 5 1/3. After that, though, the bullpen did what they had done much of this season. Emmett Sheehan, Tanner Scott, and Mason Black combined for 3 2/3 innings of perfect baseball while striking out 7. And somehow, some way, our Oakland A's are the 2029 World Series champions. And I guess I just quit now, right? There's nothing better than this. We can't do better than having the lowest payroll in baseball and taking out the highest payroll Dodgers in the World Series. Should I just quit and go out on top? We've done what we wanted to do with the A's. We have saved the A's. I mean, I don't know if we've really saved them because our fan interest is still somehow a 42, but with that long run through the playoffs, we're going to make a ton of money this season. You can see we did up the ticket price another $1 to 26 for the World Series, as I indicated I was going to. Obviously, I've been selling out the playoff games, but we kind of done what we wanted to do. I am shocked that this happened. I thought it was going to be a much more long and painful process to get here. I have no idea what John Fisher is going to expect from us now, because we were just supposed to be a playoff team by 2031, and we've kind of accelerated this timeline against all expectations. And as we've talked about, our Oakland A's are the shocking 2029 World Series winners. We did make some significant moves this past offseason. Most notably was the trade for Colt Keith, but certainly the trades to bring on Jackson Ferris and Mason Black were big as well. DeLauder, we couldn't have won it without him. Agustin Ramirez had some big times for us. Arakawa was a new addition. We'll talk about all these guys when we do the season recap in the next episode, but I'm real pleased with the way this went down. We have officially done what we hoped to do and won a World Series with these Oakland A's. I'm interested, very interested in seeing what our budget looks like coming off of this season, and how Mr. Fisher yells at us for not improving fan interest, despite the fact that we've just won it all for him. Taking a look, and just want to enjoy again that our Oakland A's, who took out the Royals in a 3-game sweep in the ALDS, took out the White Sox in a hard-fought LCS, fell down 3-1 in that series before 3 consecutive 1-1 wins, including 2 walk-offs at home to push us in the World Series. And then with the lowest budget and the lowest payroll in baseball, we took out the team with the highest budget and the highest payroll in baseball in the World Series, 4-2. And our Oakland Athletics are the 2029 World Series champions. And we're going to have some big decisions this offseason. Mitch Spence, who spent most of the year in AAA, I have a team option for $2.5 million with him. Would tend to think that we will pass on that. He was largely on the team because of his captain personality, but it doesn't help us when he's not starting. Chase Lee, closer, we're going to need to make a decision on him. Development facilities are open. Arbitration period is beginning. The off season is underway. We have it at a staff member retired, general manager Reggie Harris. That's fine. I'm really the general manager. Lost pitching coach Cal Eldred down in rookie ball. Oakland A's, who retired? Huh. We didn't have a ton of old players, and I don't think we had a season-ending injury this year. Maybe Byron Buxton goes out on top, but that doesn't sound right to me. Oh, Heimer Candelario, who played for us briefly and ended up back down in AAA. Review of season goals. Fantastic job winning a championship when he just wanted us to be over 500. Happy we brought in Colt Keith. We're almost to our attendance goal. He does not think we're reaching our fans the right way. He's happy we completed the challenge, hopes we continue to have a long and fruitful relationship. He's good with our performance in accomplishing goals. His overall mood with our performance is very happy. Next year, of course, now we need to reach the playoffs, continue working on the attendance goals, more of our drafted players to the team, increase fan interest, and win another championship within the next 3 seasons. Well, after this incredible run, at least I would tend to think we're going to have some more money to play with next year. I don't think we do. I'm pretty sure our payroll was $126 million last year. So he's cut us down to $124 million after winning a World Series with the lowest payroll in baseball and making a ton of money this year. Wow. That was unexpected. Definitely puts a little bit of a pall over the festivities after winning the World Series. You can see that World Series victory did give us another 7 points in fan interest. So if we win the next 8 World Series in a row and we continue to gain that way, we'll get fan interest up to 100. But loyalty is still minimal even after winning a World Series. Maybe we've got to show it more consistently, and the market size is still tiny. Not a shock that that's not any different. Yeah, here's our budget history. We started with that awful 100 million. We got a nice boost to 130. We've been at 126 for the last 4 years, and after just improving by 21 wins, bringing in about 6,000 more people a day into the stadium, generating huge profits for Mr. Fisher, and winning the World Series. I mean, you can see the big attendance boost here from 1.5 to 2.2 million almost. But I don't want to gloss over that last thing I said, and winning the World Series for Mr. Fisher. Our budget has been cut by $2 million for the 2030 season. I'm speechless. I am honestly speechless. Obviously very pleased to have won the World Series in our 6th year here. Our reputation has gone all the way to okay. You may have noticed at the beginning of this episode it was fair after we delivered the division title and brought this team into the playoffs, and it's improved to okay after winning the World Series. So given that it was poor at the start of this season, that's pretty significant progress in our reputation. But I'm really kind of torn right now. I did not think our payroll was going to be cut after winning a World Series and after delivering a $27 million profit to Mr. Fisher last year. So I'd love your thoughts in the comments as to what we should do next. I almost feel like this great season has accelerated things so much more than anticipated that there is a part of me that just doesn't want to deal with the crap of a penny pinching owner who cuts your payroll after you make him almost $30 million and deliver a completely unexpected World Series over the team with the biggest payroll in baseball. But I also feel like part of the challenge here was just to deal with the complete nonsense that is the Oakland A's. But as good as I was feeling 10, 15 minutes ago when we won this World Series, I kind of have a hollow feeling right now after what's happened to our budget and the fact that it's actually been cut back after that incredible 2029 season. So let me know what you think we should do in the comments down below. What would you do in this situation? Those of you who have followed me over years know that I'm ultimately going to do what I'm going to do anyways, and perhaps after a good night's sleep and some time to think about what I really want to do with this team going forward, I'll make a decision on which way to go. But the season did not end as I expected in many ways. As I mentioned at the start of the season, I thought we'd be better. I thought we'd have a winning record, and I thought we had a chance at being a playoff team. We ended up winning the division and then winning the World Series, so that was way above expectations. But the fact that we did all of that and our budget got cut back is a little bit of a gut punch, to be quite honest. So we will take the rest of this day. It's late Saturday morning as I'm finishing this video. Hopefully it'll be up by early Saturday afternoon, and we'll think about what I think my next step should be. And again, if you've got thoughts on what we should do, would love to hear them. But at least we will be making those decisions from a position of strength, because as we've talked about, our A's are the World Series champions, and kind of done what we hope to do with this team, although we haven't necessarily turned it into something sustainable financially. I do like our farm system, and I just really don't like our owner. And in our next episode, we'll take a look at our top performers and our bottom performers over the course of the season, start planning out what this roster might look like next year if we're even still in charge of this team at that point. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.